Good day, collectors and viewers. Social Distance Warrior is back. And today we're going to look at the infamous, the original apprentice to Darth Vader, Starkiller. So Starkiller, aka Galen Marek, is a character that was created in the Force Unleashed video game. There's a very interesting time for Star Wars. Once Episode 3, which was the last Star Wars movie, the sixth movie in the original franchise by George Lucas, they went on hiatus. We said Star Wars is now complete and told the story of Darth Vader, and that's it. So soon after Star Wars was finished with Episode 3, George Lucas decided he was going to continue the Star Wars franchise, the Star Wars name, in multimedia. And we obviously got the Clone Wars, which expanded on the stuff that we saw in the prequels and gave obviously a new story and new dimension to all the characters, including all the Jedi Knights and background characters from Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And all of a sudden now we get a game called The Force Unleashed, and in this game it's actually really interesting. In the first level you get to play as Darth Vader, and you discover a Force-sensitive child that you would take on secretly, unbeknownst to anybody else, as your apprentice. And this is Galen Marek. So you get to play as Galen Marek through this game, and there was a couple different versions of this game. The one that I have here on display is the one from the Wii. So this version was a little bit different than the one that came out on the PS3 at the time, or on the Xbox at the time. This one took advantage of the Wii controls. Obviously the graphics were not as good as they were on the PS3 or on the Xbox, but nonetheless you had a new Star Wars game that went through a whole bunch of planets, some familiar, some not so familiar, and you play as a character called Galen Marek, or slash Starkiller, who has all new Force abilities that we never saw before. Force abilities like you see in this picture over here, where you actually take down a Star Destroyer. And then, of course, you see him using some Force lightning over here on an ATST. And then bowing down, of course, in front of Darth Vader. And then running into and meeting, battling Shaak Ti over here. So that was an interesting thing, too, as well. Shaak Ti, who had many different fates in the Star Wars universe. Initially, in a deleted scene, she was killed off by General Grievous in Revenge of the Sith. That was never put into the movie. And then, of course, we have her fate over here against Galen Marek, fighting in front of a giant Sarlacc pit. So again, interesting stuff over here, expanding the Star Wars mythos, playing as a character named Starkiller. Interesting thing about Starkiller, of course, is that was supposed to be the original name of Luke Skywalker in the original Star Wars, so they were able to use that story here and expand the universe. Now, mind you, The Force Unleashed obviously had a following when it came out. If you're an original trilogy follower, some of it was maybe a little bit foreign to you just because it was a little exaggerated, but over the years you have climatized and have taken on this character to be part of the Star Wars mythos. He's been welcomed, and of course the actor who played Starkiller in the game, of course, also played the voice of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars as well. So there's ties there with the character and with the actor and with the Star Wars mythos. So we'd get Starkiller in action figure form soon after, or in around the same time as the game being released. And the figures, when they came out, they actually came with secret codes that you could use in the game to unlock special abilities. A gimmick there to try and buy action figures, but if you were a Star Wars fan, you were probably buying them anyway. So the original release for Starkiller was in an Evolution set. So the Anniversary Collection had an Evolution set. There was a few different ones. There was obviously some with, there was one with Anakin Skywalker. There was one with the Stormtrooper, Clone Trooper to Stormtrooper. There was a Sith one that had the three different Sith there. Darth Sidious, Darth Maul, and Count Dooku. And of course, there was one here for Starkiller, and that one was titled Secret Apprentice because he was still secret at the time. We didn't know much because we hadn't played the game yet. And so the first release that we get introduced to would be this guy over here. Now, it's an interesting figure. The head sculpt does not really resemble what you see in the final product of the game. I don't know whether that's because of the limitations at the time from Hasbro. I don't think it is, because we saw some characters, of course, even through episode 1 and original trilogy on, that had pretty good likenesses. I think it's more along the lines of them just having concept access to these guys, not final designs, and then trying to make a likeness of the character based on that. This guy does not look like Galen Marek from the game. It actually looks more like a, background dancer for NSYNC or the Backstreet Boys at the time, which got that popular, short hair, large forehead, sticking out look. So not a bad sculpt, just not reminiscent of what you see on the character. Probably be a nice head sculpt for one of your background characters in, the rebel team, or in the cantina, something along those lines. Cool outfit over here. You can see he does have some accessories on here. He does have this removable lightning effect or force effect that you can say on his arm there. He is holding his lightsaber. Of course, we were introduced to the lightsaber being held backwards by Starkiller. Again, that's a famous technique also adapted by Ahsoka, but he carries that lightsaber this way throughout the game. It's actually really neat in that regard. So let's have a closer look at this guy over here. We looked at his head sculpt there. The head is on a ball joint, so you can turn that all the way around. You can pull it off if you wanted to. It's sculpted, it's painted all the way around. Again, it does not resemble Starkiller, but here's what we got. You can see some nice detail and cuts over here on the shoulder. He's holding his lightsaber in hand. Let's take that lightsaber out. One thing I love about Star Wars is that every single one of these lightsaber hilts is unique depending on the character. They did spend a lot of time on that, and that's awesome. So that's his lightsaber there. It's got a little bit crooked there. It's a little bit bent. You can easily fix that if you put that under some hot water and flex it a bit. That probably get it back to its original form. As far as the figure itself, you can see he's detailed. Because he comes in an evolution set, he is super articulated, which is awesome. He does have this piece that runs over his shoulders. It's attached to the body. It's not removable there. He does have a ball joint there at the top of his shoulders, so you can turn him up. You can also bend him there at the elbow, and of course you have some movement here at the wrist as well on Starkiller. Remember, keep in mind this is 2007, so this is still a really awesome accessory or articulation on your character here. This force effect over here, or lightning effect, does come off of his arm, so we can take that off. You can put that on, take it off. Gives him a nice look there. As far as articulation here at the chest, you can turn him side to side. There is no ab crunch. That was not a popular thing at the time, but still pretty good. You see he does have his skirt or outfit that carries over the bottom of his pants here that comes all the way around, detailed wise there through the back. His legs do not have a ball joint here at the hips. They just move straight up there, and of course you can bend them here at the knee. You can see he does have that force effect there on the bottom of his legs, and he's got that tape or wrapped effect here on the bottom of his pants, reminiscent to Luke Skywalker on his original design there as Farm Boy Luke. And of course articulation here at the feet as well. You can move his ankle down. There's some articulation there and side to side. So that's Starkiller, the original release there from the front. Let's lift him up underneath. We can see his foot pegs. See if I can't make out a date on there. No, it's very, very difficult to see. It's glossy and dark, but that's what he looks like underneath. Turn him to the side here. Here's a side profile, Starkiller, and then we turn around to the back and we get to see the nice design on his outfit. The little cuts here on the bottom of his skirt. So a lot of tender love and care put into the character. But again, I think the likeness over here doesn't resemble him just because they probably went off of sketches or early stage photos before they decided what this actor or character was going to look like. All right, so next up, also part of the evolution set, we'd get a Jedi Knight version of this character. So I remember when I picked up the set, I was completely confused. Were these different characters? Is this the same character? Like, what is going on here? How can he be in those like smuggler or, man on the run thug clothes and then be in a Jedi Knight outfit? and then have another outfit, which is a Sith outfit, which we're going to look at in a second. I was totally confused by what they were doing over here. But here he is as a Jedi Knight. So you can see a completely different outfit. And of course, spoiler here, if you haven't played the game, you'll want to stop. But if you have played the game, you'll find out that you can have alternate endings in this game. You can choose to fight the Emperor, kill the Emperor. You can choose to fight Darth Vader, kill Darth Vader and become the new apprentice. And if that happens, then you'll become a Sith Lord. If you decide to stop the reign, then you will become a Jedi Knight. And that's what this version is supposed to depict over here. So this is Galen Marek as a Jedi Knight, accomplishing his destiny on the good side, which of course is not the popular side for this character. So he does come with a green lightsaber, you can see. Again, he does have his own lightsaber hilt here, reminiscent of the one that we looked at earlier. Again, this one's a little bit warped, so you can cure that by putting that into some hot water to straighten it out. As far as the figure itself, he does have these cloth goods on here, which is nice. Not very common anymore on these action figures. It's great to see when we do have them. And they're in an interesting spot. They're on the bottom of his wrist here. They kind of get in the way when you're trying to pose them, but in certain poses it does look good. He does have a cloak or a wrap over his head here that is removable. We're going to look at that in a second, but that's how that looks like sitting over top there. As far as his robe, you can see it goes all the way over his shoulders here. Comes across nicely on the front. It's got a nice paint job on there. He does have articulation over here down at the shoulders. So ball joint there at the shoulders. You can lift his arm up. Articulation's interesting on this one. Unlike the original one that had a ball joint at the elbow, this one's got swivel elbows over here. So they're using a more primitive design there on this action figure. And of course you do have some articulation here at the wrist. It's right where it meets the joint here that holds the fabric in place. So if you were to pull that off, you could take out that fabric piece, but I'm not going to. I don't want to lose it. As far as articulation moving down over here, he does have movement here at the waist. And you can see here, this is a really interesting thing. I love when they put holsters on these characters where you can store their weapons. He does have a wrap here where we can store his lightsaber hilt. So that just pops in there and you can take that in and out if need be. For your character, mine's fixed in there. He came with an unlit one and he came with a lit one as well, which we already looked at. Working our way down, he does have these nice soft goods down part of his robe, and he's got a rubber piece here in the front. That kind of gets in the way of his legs a bit, so you do have some movement there. He does not have a ball joint there at the hips. Standard stuff there, but he does have, of course, articulation there at the knee. You can bend his knee, and of course you have some ankle articulation there as well to have him lunging or set in a position the way you'd like him. So this is what he looks like from the front. We lift him up over here. We can see he's got foot pegs in the bottom. I'll try to read this one for you. Let's see. That one's a little more difficult. That's Hasbro China on one side, and on the other side over there, it does say a year, but I can't make it out. We'll stick with 2007. Okay, so Starkiller as a Jedi Knight, or Galen Marek as a Jedi Knight. He wouldn't be Starkiller anymore. From the front, and then from the side. Okay, and then we turn him around to the back, and that's what he looks like there on the back. And then we'll turn him back around over here to the front and remove this piece so we can look at his head. And you can see this head piece over here, a lot more reminiscent of what that character is supposed to look like. As far as hairstyle on the character. Articulation is interesting. His head is on a ball joint. We'll bring that up over here just to show you. But he's kind of positioned leaning forward because it's designed to have that robe or that hood sitting over his head, right? So as a result, you can't move his head forward. He's just kind of like leaning forward over there. And that's what he looks like side to side, head on a ball joint. And if you're curious what this character looks like, taking this head off and putting it on that one, we're going to try it. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's give it a shot. Okay, so a much better likeness with this head sitting on this body, but you can see it's not the same size inside there where you stick them on the neck, so it falls a little low, but that hairstyle is a lot more accurate to what Starkiller is supposed to look like. I hope Hasbro decides to make this original look of the character that we have here and put him on a vintage collection card, that would be awesome. We do have a vintage collection version of him, but not this game version over here. Okay, so next up is the third figure in the evolution set, and this would be Starkiller as the Sith Lord. So this is an interesting one here. It's got like a Marilyn Manson feel to him, if you know who Marilyn Manson is. Very, very dark look to this character over here. It's interesting because the arms and everything's kind of out of proportion. It's a little exaggerated. So you'd think that if he has a certain look, even if he's a Sith Lord, his arms aren't going to get extended out like Slender Man, but this one is. He does have extra things going on over here. On him, you can see he does have a really interesting lightsaber in hand here. We're going to take that out just to show you in detail. One thing I loved about these figures is that they all have unique lightsaber hilts. If we take a nice close look at this guy here, you can see how cool that hilt is on the figure. We can remove that lightsaber from there and have a look at him a little more in detail. This is probably my least favorite of the three. I do like that he has a look. I think just the fact that the arms are exaggerated and long, it kind of throws me off a little bit. But this is supposed to be, Galen Marek going bad and becoming a Sith Lord at the end of the game there, which you get to see as well. You can see he does have a bunch of lightsabers going all the way around his waist, which is really neat. See that? Unfortunately, they're not all removable. The front one is over here, the one that's his own. That one does come off. But everything else is just painted on there to look like he's got his trophies. So as far as the head, take a nice close-up look at that. It's got an interesting look. It's almost got that Leia Bouche look to it with the front of the face mask there, and he's got the the Mandalorian style visor on the front of his head there, which is pretty neat. The head is on a ball joint, does have this large ponytail, so I guess Galen Marek grew his hair before he became a Sith Lord, and that's about as much articulation you have on this guy here. He does have this shoulder pad that's fixed on there that can't go anywhere. He's got a ball joint here at the shoulder, so you can lift his arm up. You see the nice paint job, scars and blood scars on his shoulders there. It's painted nicely. He's got a really pale look, so the arm comes up. You do have added articulation here at the elbow as well, so you can bend his elbow. You can see he's got these really cool claw hands over here. There is some articulation here as well. Not at the bottom of the joint here, but right at the top, almost where the elbow meets. You can turn that side to side. You can see he's got giant fingernails, some cuts over here on his skin as well. That's his arm articulation. If we're looking here at the waist, we can turn him side to side. So again, no ab crunch. That was not a common thing at the time. I do have his lightsaber hilt stuck on the front there, so that can come off if need be. He does have soft goods on here, which is awesome. You can see that he's carrying on there a rubber part to his robe that hangs over. And of course, leg articulation. We're going to look at that right now. Let's pull the stand off there at the bottom. You can move his legs up if need be. You can bend them as well at the knee. So you have added articulation. Of course, ankle articulation on this guy as well. You can do a lot with him if you want to have him in a jumping or lunging pose, taking on, the good guys in the galaxy, taking out his vengeance on them. So that's Starkiller Sith Lord from the front. Let's lift him up and have a look underneath here. You can see he does have foot pegs. Let's try to make out what it says. Hasbro China on one. And I've yet to be able to read the year on there. I think it does say 2007, Lucasfilm Limited on this foot over here, but we'll leave that to our imagination. So one more look at the front, then a look at the side, and then a look at the back, and you can see the nice design and look eye-catching there to the lightsabers. Almost looks like he's supposed to be the father or older brother of Aura Singh. He's got that Aura Singh look and feel to him with the skin color, long arms, and the ponytail as well instead of the antenna. So that's the third figure we got in the evolution set, and that is the alternate ending there for Starkiller, the end of Force Unleashed. Okay, so we'd have to wait 3 years, but the popularity of the Force Unleashed games would grow, especially with the announcement of another one coming. Hasbro would release more sets, more figures from these games to continue the adventures, and of course expand the whole Star Wars universe, because it ended with Episode 3 in the movie line, right? So we get 2 Force Unleashed sets. They were Toys R Us exclusive, In one set, you got Galen, Marek, and a bunch of figures, including a Shadow Stormtrooper and some native characters to the planet, his robot proxy, certain clones in there as well, jump troopers, this sort of thing, Evo troopers, and of course we get more Galen Mareks, Starkillers, as I like to call them. So we get this one over here from a planet called Raxus Prime. So in the game, of course, you could change skins, and this is one of the outfits that he wore when he went on Raxus Prime. I love this. One of my favorite figures of Starkiller over here. You can see the detail that was put on this character all the way from top to bottom. His head is kind of masked or hidden behind this skull for shawl that he's got hanging all the way over with this electronic component, almost like it's helping him breathe while he's on the planet. So of course you can see that his head sculpt has come a long way from that original design there from NSYNC. This is the guy that we wanted to see, but again, Hasbro probably didn't have the proper sketches or access to media of the final designs when they made the figures, because to take these figures out and make them come out at the same time, you really have to start in advance. And if sometimes when the designs aren't done, you don't have the final stuff. Hence why we got certain characters of the original Star Wars line, like Blue Snaggletooth or Greedo's original design, that didn't actually look like the final product in the movie, right? So this guy from Raxus Prime, you can see he's holding his lightsaber in hand there. You can see the detail, the metal gloves over here. I love the whole design. There's a lot of sculpting went into this thing over here, lots of articulation. We can take that lightsaber out. You can see the lightsaber hilt here is a little bit different because you could customize that stuff in the game. So that's what his lightsaber hilt looks like. I just love that every hilt is different. It's just so cool. As far as articulation, he does have this shawl on here. So we're going to take a moment to take it off so we can look at him in a little more detail. Okay, so we took that headdress or the shawl off. And you can see Galen Marek's head sculpt there is a lot more accurate to what we see in the game. Sculpting is pretty good. He's got thick eyebrows here. He's got that nice high hairline that goes all the way around and more of a serious look. Stone Cold Killer look on there. His head is on a ball joint, so you can turn his head all the way around there. Of course, as we work our way down, articulation here at the shoulders, it's on a ball joint, so you can lift that all the way up. You can bend him there at the elbows, and of course you can turn him here at the wrist. As far as articulation over here at the waist, you can turn him side to side. Again, no ab crunch here on these figures. That wasn't a common thing at the time. He's got this really cool belt slash skirt that pops over. Everything's attached in one, but it runs nicely all the way around. That detail on that is really, really awesome. You can see he's got his binoculars over here, and those things are reminiscent to the ones that, of course, Darth Maul had. And we work our way down over here. Leg articulation, you can bend the leg up if you can lift the skirt a bit there. And of course, at the knee, you have knee articulation. The bottom part of the boots over here, or the leggings on the bottom, kind of get in the way. You can't really turn it up too much or bend them too much, but that's as far as they go. You do have some articulation there, and of course a little bit on the ankle here as well. And you can move them side to side there. So you have some movement there. No rocker ankles. That was not a thing at the time. The technology was not there on these little guys. That's a modern thing. So that's what Starkiller looks like from the front there. Let's lift them up, look underneath. We see he's got his foot pegs. And if we read underneath there, one foot says Hasbro China. The other guy says, drum roll, I think it says 2009. So just before that 2010 release. A nice deep foot pegs, which I wish they'd still continue doing, but we don't really get those deep foot pegs anymore. So this guy can sit nicely on a stand. You can see how good he looks even without that wrapping or scarf on. There he is from the front. There he is there from the side with a nice shiny, silver gloves on. And then that's what he looks like from the back as well. So a lot of design, a lot of creases, wrinkles, little details, fine details, like this little stitching on his arm. A lot of stuff going on this figure over here. Just a great looking action figure. So that's from the first Force Unleashed set that was the Toys R Us exclusive. All right, next up is from the Force Unleashed Toys R Us set number 2. This one would be Galen Marek as a bounty hunter. So this one's pretty neat as well. Again, you get all sorts of skins in the game where you can take on different outfits. And at the time, of course, Jango Fett was very, very popular. And this almost looks like a Kit Bash Jango Fett. I like it and I don't like it. I find that there's a lot too much going on. The fact that he doesn't have gloves on, he's got his bare hands here, makes me cringe a little bit. He should have gloves instead of having these wrinkled old person hands there, but that's the design that they went for. You can see he does have a Mandalorian helmet on in this rendition over here. It is removable. It's a little bit small because it's rubbery. It goes over his head, but you can put him in the bounty hunter disguise. And as we turn him all the way around, we notice he just has his robe on. Doesn't have anything like a jetpack, but he's got a pretty neat, different looking outfit on here that is nothing like anything else that you've seen in this set. So again, he comes with his lightsaber, similar to the one that we just saw with the Raxus Prime one. This one very reminiscent of Darth Vader's lightsaber hilt, okay? And as far as the figure itself, this one, again, he does have his outfit on. He is kit bashed. I believe it is a Jango Fett body that he has on there, one of the Evolution set ones. But with regular hands or human hands, and they're really big. So they're a little bit misproportioned over there. He has this outfit or robe going over the Mandalorian armor, and it gets in the way there. So it is a separate piece, right? But it really stops the movement. You can't really do much with the figure with that on. We're going to look at that in a little more detail. As far as the head, you can turn him, of course, side to side there. We're going to take that helmet off so we can see what it looks like underneath. And you can see it's just a Mandalorian helmet. It's a little bit rubbery. It's a little soft. It's got his viewfinder up, and that just sits over Galen Marek's head. And there you can see he's got his head sculpt. This one over here is not as mean looking. It's a little more peaceful or neutral face-wise. The head, of course, is on a ball joint, so we can turn that side to side over there. As far as movement, here at the shoulder, he does have a ball joint, so we can lift him up. Okay, he does have, the wiring that comes through the outfit here, just like Jango Fett does. So you got to be careful there when you're bending the arm at the elbow, but you have movement there, and of course you can turn that up and down. And as far as movement here at the wrist, that seems to be fixed on because he has human hands, so that design's a little bit different. As far as movement here at the waist, you can't really turn him because he's got this robe piece that's sitting over. You can see the detail on it. It's got a little pouch here. Everything's kind of painted on, sculpted on. Working our way all the way around, wiring over here in the back, and you can see the nice little creases on the bottom of that outfit. So again, they did a lot of paint work on here. One of those gripes that a lot of collectors had at the time is that when they have like swivel joints, they wouldn't paint them fully through. So the inside of that swivel joint is the same color as this part of the outfit, and then the shoulder piece is silver, and it like protrudes right through. So it's a bit of an eyesore looking at him there at the shoulder, but that's the figure that you get. And if you hold him like that, you don't notice it, but as soon as you look down, straight down on the figure, it jumps right out at you. So that's Galen Marek from the front there. As far as leg movement, you can't really move them up, but you do have articulation there where you can bend them at the knee. He's got nice little knee pads there. He's got shiny silver boots on, and of course articulation there at the ankle. So that's what he looks like from the front. And we lift him up underneath. We notice he does have foot pegs. This one I believe is a little more legible. It says Hasbro China on one, and the other side says 2009 Lucasfilm Limited. There we go. He's got nice little grips or traction there on the bottom of his feet as well. So one more look there at the front. We'll turn him over here to the side, and then we'll turn him over here to the back to get one more look detail-wise at the back side of Galen Marek. All right, so next up we get another Starkiller, this time in a 2011 set, also a Toys R Us exclusive. It's a Shadows of the Dark Side line version of Starkiller. This one's a favorite of mine. I just love the design and the look on this character over here. That's this one over here. I remember passing on this set initially because this is one of the first times where the pricing on the Star Wars figures started to go up astronomically. And I remember this set being so expensive. You used to be able to get these multi-packs cheaper because you got more figures in there. So this is where it actually started to become more expensive to buy these figures. Almost the same, if not more expensive than buying them individually. So this is Starkiller, again, from the Force Unleashed 2 game. So this is the first version that we get from the second game. You can see he looks really awesome there with the robe on. I love the way it sits down over his face and it runs all the way around. He looks like a Sith Lord. Looks like he's ready to take on the Empire, the design, or the Rebellion. The design on the cape is really good. It flows down really well all the way around the character. It doesn't get in the way, and it's nice and rubbery. It's not a hard plastic. It's a rubbery plastic. And you can see he does have one of his lightsabers unlit over here, sitting on the side of his belt. He's got the nice outfit skirt there, and of course he's got his lightsaber in hand there. Let's take that lightsaber out to have a closer look at it. Again, this one is the one that's reminiscent of the guy that you see as the Sith Lord in the end of the first game. So let's just pull that out. You can see the hilt does have a little peg to plug into his belt. They both came that, the lit one and the unlit one, and a nice little design there at the bottom. As far as the character himself, we bring him up nice and close so you can see him with the hoodie on, looking mean, ready for battle. He's almost got that Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight look to him here. And of course that robe is removable, which makes it amazing. It just comes off nice and easy there. It's red inside, looks like Moff Gideon's cape with a nice little red there. You can see how it just flows right over, and you just drop that on his head. I love this figure. They did a lot of work on here. It just flows simple and easy, and that's what makes him so likable and nice to display. So here's a nice close-up of Galen Marek's head here. You can see he does look a little bit older. It's basically the same head sculpt we've seen before, but now they've, fine-tuned it a bit. The eyebrows aren't as big, the pupils aren't as big on his eyes, and of course the hair is more of a brown color as opposed to a dark brown or black color, right? It is on a ball joint there, so you can turn that head all the way around. You do have some movement down and up, so a little more than we normally get on this figure, which is nice to see. As far as articulation over here, he does have articulation at the shoulder ball joint, and they've hidden that nicely. So one thing you're gonna love about this character is maybe one of the first times I've seen this, you don't see that he has a ball joint over here. This part flows. The top part of his shoulder goes over the shoulder pads here, and when you lift the arms up, the shoulder pads go in. See how neat that is? It goes right underneath there, so it hides it well, and you can see the swivel or ball joint there at the bottom underneath. Of course, he does have that at the elbow here as well, and of course some wrist movement there as well on the side. As far as the waist, you can turn him side to side here. He is kind of standing or a little bit slanted, so his hips kind of kicked out a bit. He does have the lightsaber, the unlit one, plugged into the skirt there. The skirt does have a slit there on the sides, so you can get to the legs, but make it a little bit more difficult to try and sit this guy down. You're not going to be able to, but you can bend his legs a bit. He does have articulation there at the knee, and then of course some ankle articulation here at the bottom as well. So that's our Starkiller from the front. We lift him up underneath. We can see his foot pegs there, and I can make that out. It does say Hasbro China on one foot and 2009 Lucasfilm Limited, or 2008. It's hard to read on that. Maybe they kit bashed or reused the legs from a previous version for that part underneath. So that's what he looks like from the front. Take a gander at Starkiller there from the side, and then one more look at him from his nice shiny textured outfit from the back. Yeah, it's almost like a rubbery, leathery take on there. They've detailed that really nicely. It stands the test of time pretty good, this action figure does, and we can just put his cape back on there, his hoodie back on. You can see the way you need to display him on your shelf. Starkiller. All right, so next up, Starkiller. Of course, he's going to get himself continuing on in all of his glory. We'd only have to wait one more year. And at this point, Hasbro already had the vintage collection, even when the previous version came out. And they decided to give us a brand new Starkiller, like he was in the Force Unleashed 2 video game, and we get him as part of the vintage collection now in 2012. So this is the card back for that figure over here. We're going to bring that up nicely to the front, and we can see Starkiller there with the expanded universe logo on the top there, the Kenner logo there at the bottom, and a nice sketch or look of the character here. Looks just like the actor who plays him there. Has Galen Marek, Starkiller, on the name pill there, Vader's apprentice. So we can see a brand new design, comes with a plethora of accessories. It's strange that they didn't release this as a deluxe set, because that's what it would come out as today. He does have 2 lightsabers. He does have 2 unlit versions of those lightsabers. And of course, he comes with the option where you can switch up his outfit. And when we look at him outside of the package, we're going to have him in both outfits, just so you can see what that looks like. So this was a figure that was released in 2012. The one that I'm holding in front of you here, this card back, is the re-release from 2023, but it is the exact same figure. So there he is on his bubble. We turn around to the back, and we'll notice that he is a VC number 100. And again, this is the re-release one, so it has the more modern characters there on the back from 2023. So we're going to put that card back over here, and we're going to look at Starkiller loose. So the first one we're going to look at is the one in this outfit over here. So he came with a couple different ways to pose him. He does have his lightsabers in hand, as you can see over here, and he does have unlit lightsabers that can plug into his belt. And he's got this interesting belt where it wraps around. It almost looks like, you know, Luke Skywalker's X-Wing fighter outfit with the belt hanging down there, unbuckled, right? Working our way all the way around. He's got a nice little breathing apparatus here on the back. And of course, he has that little part to his backpack or armor that sits on the back there that is removable as well. So you can pull that off. I'm just going to show you what that looks like. You pull it off, it does look a little bit inferior. So we'll get that back on as fast as we can. But it almost has like a nice Imperial look to it, almost like an AT-AT commander or AT-ST commander. So he's got two lightsabers in hand there, Starkiller does, and you can see he's got a really mean looking face on the character there. He's got his outfit here, which is pretty neat. The way the bottom flap on the front of his jacket is flapped down, it's reminiscent of Luke Skywalker there when he fights Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi. So they maintain that, you know, Star Wars look and feel. And of course the head is on a ball joint. Let's bring him up close just so we can see him. And we see he's got both lit lightsabers in hand there. So that's this outfit for Starkiller. We're going to look at the articulation on him, but I just want to show you the second outfit as well. So that's one way you can display him. The other way is like this. And this one, he's got the bottom piece of his robes on, or his belt on, with a little skirt coming down. Again, you can plug the lightsaber in. On the front there, he's got these pockets that run all the way around, and he has this armor piece that sits up over his head. And of course, he does have a more of a serious looking face on there as well. And he's got these bracers on. So if you notice, he's got bracers on. So a lot more different ways to display him here with armor pieces on. And then we'll turn him over here just to take his lightsabers out to have a look at him. I think I lost his unlit lightsaber as well, but that's okay. So here's the hilts close up, just so you can see they're slightly different. Nice and blue, but slightly different, okay, at the hilt there. As far as Starkiller himself, he has articulation again over here at the head. You can turn him side to side, up and down. I don't know what it is about this particular figure, but the way the hairstyle is, the way the look on this character is, I stand him a certain way, it almost looks like a young Novak Djokovic, the tennis star. I wonder if he was the inspiration for this design. I doubt it, but nonetheless, it does have a bit of a Novak look, particularly that version over there with the long neck. So that's what he looks like with the armor on there. Again, head on a ball joint. He does have articulation here at the shoulder, so his arm does move all the way up on a ball joint there. You can move him there at the elbow, and of course at the wrist here, you can turn him side to side. Okay, and these little, you know, pieces or bracers are on there. They can come off as well. And he does have gloves on, shiny gloves over here that protrude or stick through there. But this particular model or version here, we're going to have with the bracer on there. Okay, as far as articulation here at the waist, you can turn him side to side. Okay, and then of course, because he's got this big piece down here, you can lift that up a little bit just to get his legs up. Let's just take him off the stand there to show you articulation there. You can lift his legs up, so no ball joint at the waist, but again, articulation to bend the knees and to bend the ankles as well. So you have some movement options on Galen Marek / Starkiller there. So that's what he looks like from the front in this outfit. And then of course underneath, you can see he does have foot pegs on. There's no branding there at the bottom. On the bottom side, it's probably in a different spot on the character. And then that's what he looks like from the side. And you can see he's got the Imperial symbol there on his sleeve. And then of course, that's what he looks like from the back side as well. We'll do the same thing with the other version over here. We're going to bring this guy over just to take a look at him as well, just to show you the difference when you put them side by side. Yeah, you will notice the face sculpts are slightly different over here. This one's got, it's almost like he's got more of like a dark ring around his eyes. It's supposed to capture more of the face scan technology because it's the second release. This one here is not the original release, is the one that came out in the Black Series line, which was in 2014. So he did get a re-release before he got re-released in the Vintage Collection. They made the Vintage Collection version first. That was a scarce figure, and they decided to make the 3 3/4 inch Black Series line, and they made another version of Galen Marek, and you can see he's got a slightly different head sculpt there. The hair is not as dark. I actually like the sculpt and the eyes on this one better than the re-release version over here, which is a little bit more dark. He looks a little more, almost looks sick with the bags around his eyes, like he's not well, which he probably isn't. He's a bad guy, right? The lightsabers on the 3 3/4 inch Black Series one are like a pale blue, whereas the re-release and the original release are a nice blue. Just so you know, that's an easy way to tell which figure you have in hand, okay? And then there again, we're just going to take one more look at the figures side by side in a different outfit. So it's nice to be able to display them both ways. You can get two versions if you want. And then, of course, around the back there as well, you can see this one over here has the armor sitting up over, and then this one just has a backpack piece there on the back. So that is Starkiller from the Vintage Collection. First released in 2012, then re-released in 2014 as part of the 3 3/4 inch Black Series line, and then we get him back again in 2023 as part of the Vintage Collection for the ones of us that missed it the first time. Okay, so we're going to talk about one more version of Starkiller that we received. Also in 2023, this time as part of the Black Series, we'd get a San Diego Comic-Con release of Starkiller, and of course it was Starkiller with a bunch of effects, and he came with a couple of stormtroopers, and then they'd also make a regular release of him as well. If you didn't want to get the big set, you could get him on his lonesome, and that's this guy over here. Now when you see this version of Starkiller, it's almost like a carbon copy look of what the character looks like in the movie. This is amazing. Like the sculpt on this thing, how far we've come with design, sculpting, and likeness is quite remarkable, especially in the Black Series line over here. And all Hasbro has to do is take this version, because we want to have this original version of Starkiller, and put him down into that version over there, 3 3/4 inch, and put him on a Vintage Collection card. And we're set with Starkiller. But so you can see the head sculpt on this guy here, the way they have his hair on the character. Again, he has that very, very dark look, but very reminiscent of what he looks like in the game, almost exactly. And the hair kind of fades in, so he's got like a bit of a fade there as a Star Wars character. He does have his head on a ball joint there, so you can turn his head side to side. And you can see the nice detail over here at the shoulders. He's got a cut, some blood protruding through there. And of course, articulation over here at the shoulders. He does have this separate piece, this shoulder piece that's, or shoulder pad that's sitting over separately on there protecting him. So that's on there sitting. It doesn't get in the way of you adjusting his head or his arms in any action pose that you want. So articulation here at the shoulder with a swivel, and of course at the elbow here as well. That fits in nicely, and of course over here at the wrist, and you can see he's holding his lightsaber nicely backward in hand there, and of course you have some articulation there at the wrist where you can go up and down, so it gives you a little bit of added motion for Starkiller. Same articulation on both sides, so again you can swing that arm down. I love how this sleeve over here hangs over, so it's a little bit different. He's got his sleeve up, he's in an action pose, he's got these wrappings that come all the way down over to his glove, so very, very faithful to the way he looked in the game. He does have articulation here at the waist. You can turn him side to side. He does have an ab crunch up and down there as well. He does have this, bottom part of his robe and belts that hang all the way down separately over here over his legs. And of course his legs they have ball joints, so you can turn them all the way out. You have full articulation. They've hidden his knee nicely behind this pant leg there. If we turn it there to the back, you can see it. So you can bend his knee there. It's reminiscent of how they did Ahsoka's. The Ahsoka figure from The Mandalorian has a very similar design that way. He does have a peg hole here so you can put his lightsaber away. You can unplug it and just put the hilt, plug it in there if you'd like. I like the different color design over here. It's almost got like an olive green and it goes into the dark gray / black on the bottom of his pant leg there. And of course, articulation here at the ankles as well. Wrappings, nice wrappings coming all the way down. And of course, rocker ankles, one of my favorites. Every single figure should have rocker ankles. It's a shame when they don't. The modern ones, you can display them any which way as a result. So there's Starkiller there from the front. Let's have a look underneath over here. See his foot pegs. See if we can see a year on the bottom. The bottom there says 2022 Hasbro. Lucasfilm Limited. The other one just has a number on there. Nice little foot pegs. So one more look at him there from the front. We turn him over here to the side. Look at Starkiller there from the side. And then one more look over here at the back. And you can see all the different looks or designs over here. And I love how they've put the little pegs here on the back, where you can plug in different lightsaber hilts if you wanted to on this character as he takes out Jedis in his mission to please Darth Vader, become his new apprentice. So that's it for the Starkiller review. I hope you enjoyed the review. I know I haven't done a review in a while. It's great to come back and do one for you guys over here. Again, I really enjoy doing this stuff. If you like, please like and subscribe and toss a comment down there, which is your favorite Starkiller figure / Galen Marek figure. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.